On what should have been just another afternoon in Oakland, the community was absolutely rocked by a shocking act of violence. And the target? It wasn't just anyone. It was a local legend, a man who has spent his entire life building up young people. So today, we're going to unpack the shooting of Coach John Beam and what this means for the city he's dedicated his life to. And this really says it all, doesn't it? It's these two completely opposite realities just crashing into each other. On one side, you have a symbol of mentorship, of safety, of success. And on the other, just sudden, terrifying chaos erupting on a college campus. All right, so let's get into the details. How did this all go down? It all kicked off around noon at Laney College, a place that's supposed to be about learning, but it was suddenly turned into a crime scene. So at about 12 o'clock, the first reports of a shooting came in. And just 16 minutes later, the entire campus community gets this terrifying alert, active shooter. I mean, you can just imagine the sheer panic. Now, authorities did clarify later that it was a single targeted shooting, but in those critical first moments, the whole campus was on lockdown, everyone just bracing for the absolute worst. Pretty soon, it became clear that the victim was none other than John Beam himself, the school's new athletic director. He was rushed to the hospital, while the suspect, described only as a guy in dark clothing, just fled the scene, leaving a whole community with way more questions than answers. And look, to really grasp the weight of this, you have to understand, this wasn't just some random staff member. John Beam is an institution in Oakland. His roots in this community run so deep. 45 years, just let that number sink in for a second. For nearly half a century, Coach Beam has been a constant presence in Oakland, dedicating his life to mentoring thousands of young people, both on and off the football field. And his track record is just staggering. We're talking 15 league championships and 4 undefeated seasons at Skyline High. Then he goes and turns Laney College into a national powerhouse, producing over 20 NFL players. A lot of you probably recognize him from that Netflix series Last Chance U, which put a national spotlight on his program back in 2020. He'd actually just retired from coaching this year to become the athletic director. But all those championships, all the national fame, that only tells you part of the story. For Coach Beam, the real win was never just about what happened on the scoreboard. It was about shaping young lives. This quote from a former player, Mamaloa Mafi, really gets to the heart of it. Coach Beam didn't just recruit him. He ended up recruiting his entire family. All 6 of the Mafi brothers played for Beam. You see, this wasn't just a team. For families like his, it was a multi-generational lifeline built on trust and real opportunity. And this, in his own words, was his whole philosophy. He saw football as a classroom for life. The goal wasn't just to make great athletes, it was to teach young people how to navigate the world, how to be accountable, how to be, as he says, true to your word. Now, as shocking as this one event is, we have to pull the lens back a little, because what happened to Coach Beam, unfortunately, is part of a deeply disturbing trend of violence spilling onto school campuses in Oakland. The attack on Coach Beam did not happen in isolation. Get this, less than 24 hours earlier, a student was shot at Skyline High School. That's 2 shootings on 2 different campuses in 2 days. The victims were different, sure, a staff member and a student, but the pattern of violence invading places that are supposed to be safe, it's undeniable. And here is the really chilling connection, the terrible irony in all of this. Skyline High, the site of that other shooting just a day before, that's the very place where Coach Beam built his legacy. It's where he won those 15 championships. The 2 places he poured his life into are now tragically linked by violence. You can just hear the frustration, the anger in the statement from the Oakland Police Assistant Chief. He's not just talking about statistics. He's talking about a fundamental breakdown of safety. These are our children, he says. His words really capture the whole community's outrage that schools of all places are becoming battlegrounds. So that's where things stand. A revered coach, a man who gave so many kids a path away from violence, becomes a victim of it himself. And it leaves us with this incredibly difficult question. When the very person who represents hope and safety in a community is targeted, what does that say about where we are, and how do we even begin to find a path forward?